Today we're gonna find out just how far every single BTD6 hero can go in BTD6. I'm gonna be giving every single hero an MIV village to really maximize their potential, and if they start losing, I'm going to be upgrading them until they can't go any further. We're gonna do this in Cubism and Easy, and I'm going to have unlimited cash to actually test them properly. There's a total of 16 heroes in the game, each with their own abilities and upgrades, so without further ado, let's hop right into it. So first off, we have the one and only Quincy.
Are you kidding me? Nothing gets past my bow.
Now, for my own sanity, I played these games in 10x, because if not, this video would not be released this month. It would take a long time. Now, as you probably expect, Quincy went past these early rounds really easily. I honestly don't care if they can't pop lesser camos. I really just want to test their raw power, but that's the only buff I gave them throughout the entire run. Quincy started leaking at around round 15, but nothing too crazy. But after that, it was non-stop leaking. He was leaking pretty much every round, and unsurprisingly, he ended up losing at round 27. Now, all I had to do for this round was just use his ability, but I knew that wouldn't last for much longer. He was barely able to keep going, and in round 35, he lost once again. So, I upgraded him to level 10 and unlocked the Arrow Storm ability, which now is more than enough to beat the round. I lost a couple times, but the abilities did the trick, until I got to round 38, where I had to upgrade him again. Then around 43, I upgraded him again because he kept losing every other round. Then again around 47, so on round 49, I decided to just upgrade him to the max. Also guys, really quick, I'm trying to become the #1 most subscribed Dr. Future in all of YouTube. Currently, I've been beaten by this guy, which has quite a bit more subscribers than me, and I'm trying to beat him because I'm the real Dr. Future and he's not. So, if you want to support me and want to help me beat this guy, hit that subscribe button and let's become the most subscribed Dr. Future in all of YouTube. And yeah, he lost on round 79, but this time for real. I tried microing this round, but it just didn't work. Next up, we've got Gwendolyn. Now, Gwen is regarded to be much better than Quincy, so at least I hope she beats him. She started out pretty good and did not start leaking until round 21, so much better than Quincy. But after round 33, things started to go out of hand, and I kept leaking so much. But all I needed to do was really just use an ability. Then on round 38, I make my first upgrade, and I'm gonna spare you the details because it just really consisted of losing, micro, losing, upgrade, and repeating. So I'm just gonna skip to round 78 where she is max level. And she ended up losing on round 82, barely beating Quincy. Now we have Striker Jones, and not gonna lie, I did not have much confidence for him, considering he really is just a support tower. So with this guy, it's pretty much the same. We get the MIV village, and he clears through the early game pretty easily. Now, nope, I lied, he dropped on round 22, so I upgraded him a little bit. But even with that, he loses again, so I upgraded him once more. Now that upgrade was more than enough for this round, but we have 3 lives, and he kept leaking after that. We were literally hanging by a thread most of this game. Like literally he kept losing and losing over and over again. So on round 61 I just decided to max him out. And he went all the way to round 25, and this time he ended up losing for real. Next up we have Obyn Greenfoot, and again, this guy is mostly a support hero, so not much hope for him. However, Obyn started doing much better than the others. Most heroes leaked around 15, but he didn't, and he was overall just destroying the early game, and he kept going at it. He was honestly surprising me a lot, and he didn't need an upgrade until round 37. Then he lost to the Moab quite a bit of times, so I was forced to upgrade him a little bit, and that was more than enough. I then upgraded him here and there, which was not really necessary, but hey, we avoided some dumb deaths. He was doing great, but he started really struggling past the 50s. and had to get 3 upgrades just for round 50. Then he really didn't struggle too much after this, so I maxed him out on round 64. He actually beat the OMG, but died soon after on round 81, and that's the end for him. Next up we have Rosalia, and boy, where do I even begin with her. She's like one of the most hated heroes, and I personally really dislike her, so I'm not even really gonna take my time with her, especially considering how complicated she gets. Now, I won't just be doing this because I dislike her, but the amount of micro she made me do was actually incredibly boring, so I don't want you to watch that. So yeah, she got all the way to round 92, putting her in first place for now, but trust me, this was painful. Next up we have one of, if not my favorite hero of all time, Captain Churchill. You can't really go wrong with this guy, he is just him. And as you can probably tell, he cruised to the early game, so I'm actually going to show you more of the late game for this guy because I was really more interested. First of all, he destroyed this OMG, and then he kept going. Nothing could stop him, not DDTs, not round 92, oh wait, round 92, really? Luckily I did manage to beat it, but barely. Anyways, he kept going and he even made it to round 95, but unfortunately, this round was way too much for him. Still, really impressive. Next up we have an interesting one, Fusty. Now, I don't even know what to think of this guy, so I honestly just clicked play. This guy, as expected, was not struggling with the early game at all, which makes sense given that he is a small balloon focused hero, but I have a feeling that when the mobs start to appear, he will start to struggle a lot, but that's for later me to worry about. He continued to destroy the early game, leaking very little, but then the Moab came, and he lost to it, but weirdly, I just continued and this time he managed to beat it, I don't know why. Now after this point is where he started to struggle a lot, but I wasn't too worried, he still had a lot of upgrades to go. On round 48, I upgraded him a little bit because he low-key started to leak a lot, and then more on round 49 because this time he lost. And I don't know what I was thinking, but I bought like 5 levels for him this round, like that was weird of me, but hey, it worked. But even barely, like even with 5 upgrades, barely worked. Then I lost once again and I bought 2 more levels. Now this setup managed to go much further and I didn't need more upgrades for a while. Then eventually we made it to round 63 and it managed to make us lose. So I decided to just max him out at this point. Then he eventually lost completely on round 81. Honestly, he had an incredible run at the beginning. Then he fell off at the beginning, but at the end, he honestly didn't do too badly. Next up we have Ezili, one of the best endgame heroes, but absolutely not a great solo hero. She started out not so well and I knew she was going to be difficult to go far with. She even started leaking at round 8, which gave me the confirmation that she was going to struggle a lot. And then I kept leaking even more in rounds where most heroes would absolutely cruise through. And then she lost on round 25, forcing me to upgrade her 3 times. And sure, that was enough for that round, but she ended up losing like on the next one. So I upgraded her 3 more times because all the other upgrades were really more like Moab based. But even with that, it was not enough. So I tried microing, but that didn't work. So I decided that that was enough and I upgraded her 5 more times, which fortunately was enough. And then she lost the next round. So let me spare you the pain and just skip to when she's max level. And then she lost permanently around 45. Absolutely pathetic, but hey, she's actually really insane for endgame. Alright, so next up we have another one of my favorite heroes, Adora. Adora is super powerful like overall, so I'm really expecting her to do really good. She absolutely destroyed the early game, as expected. She was doing absolutely insane, destroying all the early game rounds without leaking a single life. That is up until round 38. Everything was going great, but she randomly just lost more than half of her lives. And then on round 39 we actually ended up losing. Like, how did she come from not leaking a single life to losing in just 2 rounds? So I then upgrade her a little bit, and then that seemed to do the trick. But then the Moab killed us, so I upgrade her even more. We end up beating it, but the next round that gave us issues was round 49. I had to upgrade her like 4 times, and even that wasn't enough, so I upgrade her 5 times, which does the trick. So now that it's most of the same, let's skip to when she's max level or round 70. Keep in mind that throughout this, I actually do use the blood sacrifice to buff her, which ended up saving me a lot. Eventually, we lose to round 96, making her the #1 spot right now. Next up, we have Etienne, which used to be my favorite hero. I think by now you are probably really bored of the usual. Yeah, he low-key cruised to the early game, but started falling off really fast. He kept losing lives over and over and over again. Due to the fact that this guy kept losing over and over and over again, I had to micro intensely and keep upgrading him. So, why don't we just skip to when he's max level on round 63. I ended up getting stuck on round 89 for a while, but I actually ended up managing to beat it. This guy eventually made it all the way to round 91, which, not going to lie, was extremely impressive. Next up, we have my favorite hero and one of the best heroes for early game, Sauda. Like, watching Sauda cruise through the early game, not going to lie, was extremely satisfying. Now, you all already know how OP Sauda is. She had her first death around 40, which honestly makes sense considering Moabs are honestly her biggest weakness. But she only needed a couple of levels. Now she didn't really struggle for a while, so I got her max level on round 74. And she ended up getting all the way to round 98, which is just insane. Next up was Admiral Brickell, a hero I had never used before this video, but she ended up being a pretty decent hero. Now at this point it's the same thing. They did good early games, started falling off in the 30s, and then I tediously upgraded her as she started losing. However, Brickell was low-key doing pretty good, destroying the Moab and not needing many upgrades to get past the easy rounds. So it's not surprised that I ended up maxing her all the way at round 68. And I got stuck on round 81 and actually got really close to beating it, but nothing worked. So that's where she loses. And finally, we have Sai, another hero that I've never used before making this video. Now you're probably wondering what I mean by finally, but I'll explain that in a bit. Now Sai was a bit of the same, but they were actually losing straight up in the early game, which makes sense once you realize how slow they attack. They ended up leaking a lot even on the easy rounds, but make no mistake, they're still pretty decent. I get them to level 10 on round 30, and at this point things are getting a little bit better, but we are still getting cooked. Now even though Sai's early game is horrible, once they are at a later stage, they actually start cooking rounds, even without being level 20. Anyways, I get them to level 20 on round 75, and now it's time to see how far the final hero can go. Which ended up being round 93. The DDTs were just too much for them to handle, but still really impressive. And that was it. That's how far every single hero could go in BTD6. Well, not every single hero. You're probably wondering why I left out 3 heroes: Benjamin, Geraldo, and Kerberos. I left out Ben for obvious reasons, but the other 2 are a little bit more complicated because they're extremely inaccurate and inconsistent compared to the other heroes. And honestly, they're mostly skill based, which makes them extremely hard to actually determine just how far they can go. So I decided to just not include them. I'm really sorry, but maybe for a later video. So yeah, that was it guys. Here is the leaderboard for the heroes, and I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, as always, and the notification. I will see you on the next video. Bye bye!